How do they do it? How do the most successful people in the world keep replicating their own success time after time after time, as if they have some sort of secret formula to their success? Take Elon Musk for example. He founded PayPal in 2000, SpaceX in 2002, and became the CEO of Tesla in 2008. It almost seems like everything he touched turns into gold. And then you look at yourself. Yeah, you might be doing alright, you might be having small wins here and there, but you can't help but feel that a lot of these wins are incidental. They're usually outside of your control and you couldn't have gotten it without the help of luck. What if there indeed is a principle that governs success? A principle that, once you mastered it, could replicate success time after time after time, just like how the most successful people have done it. I hope that by the end of the video, you will have learned the principle or the graph that governs success. By the end of this video, you will understand this graph, which if followed closely, could be a bulletproof blueprint towards anything you want in life. And I didn't create the graph. The man who created this graph is Ray Dalio, an individual who has the top 100 highest net worth in the world. So don't trust me, but trust him. This graph is one of the most reliable way towards anything you want in life. It can all start from understanding this graph. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. According to Ray Dalio, the graph is separated into 5 steps. The first step is understanding your goal. So what do you think of when I mention the word goal setting? You've probably been taught that in school, but very few people actually set goals, let alone do them properly. So here are the ways to do it properly. First of all, you must prioritize. You can achieve almost anything, but not everything. So here you have to be ruthless. You have to really know yourself, understand what you really want, and choose the one thing that you are going to base your goal on. And then you have to be specific. You should not confuse desire and goal. A desire is something like, I want to be happy. But goal is something measurable, something specific that you can track progress with. So make sure that your goal is specific enough. Thirdly, don't give up on a goal just because it seems ridiculously big to you, it seems unattainable. Times when you limit your goal, you limit your capabilities, you limit your ability. And a lot of the times we do not understand just how much we can do. I mentioned more about this in my last videos, so if you're interested, maybe go there and have it. And fourthly, you have to equip yourself with flexibility to change the goal or the course of a direction. Things happen, expectation goes wrong, but you have to have the humility to understand when it is time to change and not feel too bad about it because, you know, things happen. And finally, you have to have the accountability for your own goal. You have to really take in the responsibility of anything that happens into yourself and understand that most of the things that happens probably are your own responsibility rather than any external factors. Of course, external factors do come in sometimes, but most of the time you have to understand that you are the one to blame instead of blaming other people or other circumstances. And then the second step is to identify the problem. So just like any goal, once you started going towards that direction, you soon identify problems. But the first big thing here is to identify big problems compared to small problems. Again, as I said, you have finite energy and finite time, right? So you do want to target the problems that, once solved, bring you the most benefit, instead of solving a small problem that doesn't really matter. Of course, it's good that you solve them, but then you'll be better off if you put your energy towards solving the big problems. Here, a key thing is to accept the reality. The harsh reality is that sometimes you're not good at something, and second of all, sometimes some problems are just here that you need to solve. Do not turn away from them. Embrace your weakness, embrace the problem, because both weaknesses and problems are usually big things that you can improve, and once improved, could probably increase your chance of success by a lot. Yes, I understand, it is very uncomfortable to think about them, and we all have a tendency to escape from our problems. But here, if you do want to proceed forwards, you have to embrace them, you have to understand them. And that's a big step towards the third step. Another thing you might want to think about is to be specific about the problem. So a good problem solver is a good problem identifier. The more clear you can identify your problem, the easier it will be to find solutions. So far we've done step 1 and step 2. We have understood our goal and we've identified the problem. So here we're going upwards, right? But then we realize that the problem is actually dragging us down, so we're going down again. Now what we have to do is to diagnose the problem, is to be a doctor almost. So a lot of the times before we diagnose the problem, we jump straight to designing a solution. But the thing that Ray Dalio stressed a lot about is that you really should put in the time to diagnose the root cause of the problem and to differentiate the symptoms from the disease. So here, what he recommends is take at least 15-30 minutes to an hour to really diagnose the problem in hand. So you've done all 3 steps. Now is the interesting part. The 4th step is to design a plan. So now you're at the bottom of the graph here. You have a goal, you progress towards it, but then you face a big problem. So then you went down to the bottom. And now, at the very bottom, you've diagnosed the problem and came up with a plan. So how do you came up with a plan? The first thing you can do, and probably one of the easiest things you can do, is to look back at past experience and see if there's anything you can take from there to help your goal at hand. So maybe you've identified similar problems before, or maybe even you've identified very different problems before, but the principles are the same. And then the second thing is to see your plan as a machine. So a machine has like different parts, right? Maybe there's like 5 big parts of the machine, and then there's like small parts, small units that makes up each part. Try to take out different parts, implement new units into the machine, work around it, and sort of play around with it until you find out a plan that can run smoothly towards solving the problem at hand. Another good way of thinking about it, which Ray mentioned, is to go from the biggest picture to the smallest detail. So start with the biggest picture here. Start with the very broad plan, your one sentence that sums up the plan. And then slowly go more detail until you break it down to the smallest component, something that you can take action right now. And then start from there. So now you have a plan, but then you're still at the bottom of the graph. How do you launch yourself up higher than when you first encountered the problem? Here, one of the most important parts of the graph, in my opinion, is execution. So a plan is only as good as your execution. It might sound very simple, but then a lot of people fail to do it. First of all, utilize habits. A lot of you might be familiar with the concept of 1% improvement by James Clear in his book Atomic Habits. A similar principle can be applied here. If you can utilize your habits to take actions, small actions even, each day, but you do it continuously, then over time it will actually give you tremendous results. Another thing you can do is to use metrics. Use metrics to track your own progress, to see if you're going on track. If not, then maybe go back to the plan, iterate, like I mentioned, look at the machine, look at what you can take out, what you can add in, and then go on to execution again. But then once you finish execution, you go back to a new goal, you identify a new big problem, you diagnose the problem again, design a plan, and execute again. And by repeating the process is how you can launch yourself higher towards the ladder of success. So you must say, hey Jason, I know all 5 steps before I even clicked into this video, so this is useless basically, this is garbage. But the problem is, most people know these steps, they know it intuitively, but they do not perform it systematically. And I'm guilty of this myself as well. I mean, who doesn't know goal setting, identifying problem, diagnosing problem, designing a plan, and the fact that you have to execute on the plan. All of us know that, but the problem is that we think of it at the time when we need to actually do it, instead of planning it ahead as almost like a mental model in our brain. And that is what differentiates the people who wins and the people who doesn't. People who win are able to replicate their success by systematically and repeatedly performing all 5 steps. And maybe ask yourself, can you do that? Have you done that before? And also ask yourself whether you're good or bad at certain steps. Personally, I'm very bad at execution. I always draw up a plan and then always procrastinate on it because I'm afraid of execution. Understanding this chart, understanding where you lag behind and what you're good at and how to execute on the plan is in itself a goal for you to achieve. So I guess a main message at the end I want to bring out is that really try to hone in the mental model of the 5 steps and try to perform them systematically. And there you go, that's the graph that governs success. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Jason. Here I try to help people gradually improve their life and filter out the BS advice out there on YouTube. If that sounds right to you, feel free to subscribe. And yeah, there'll be more content coming up, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, leave a like. If you did not, then hit the dislike. And make sure to hit it twice, just to show me how much you dislike the video. And with that being said, I'll see you soon. Bye.